How's it going, everybody? It's Chris here, and what I wanted to do is give you guys my visual snow story quick version. I'm probably going to do a rant version at some point where I actually go over like all the details, but I just want to give you guys the quick version, the rundown version, and I'm just curious about your guys' stories. Give me the quick version, give me the rundown version in the comments below, and just let me know how you got your visual snow syndrome. So my quick version is that I got COVID, I got the stomach flu, and then right after that I got a bunch of ocular migraines. Okay, and I got a huge green blob in my vision, like the size of the sun. If you like just stared at the sun for like 30 seconds and then looked away, just saw like giant green splooge in there. I got that, but it lasted for weeks. Okay, it lasted for about 14-ish days fully, and then started to slowly dwindle and go away over the next 6 months or so. But I was left with these very tiny dots that lasted for like 6 months. In the entire process of all of that, I went to the ER, I went to a neurologist, I went to an ophthalmologist, I went to my primary care physician, and they're like, "You got a migraine. You have a migraine. Wait until you can see the neurologist." And I was like, "Okay, sounds good." I got a bunch of tests, obviously, blood and all this other stuff, and during all of that, somehow visual snow happened somewhere in all of that. I don't know exactly when. I was paying attention to my green splooge, but I can tell you that when I went to see the ophthalmologist the very first time, the fifth day, definitely I had visual snow. So it was somewhere in between my last ocular migraine and the ER visit and the ophthalmologist. Within like 5 days, I went from nothing to full on visual snow and visual snow syndrome, with kind of all of the weird things going on with the light sensitivity and all that stuff. But I didn't get everything. Like I didn't have floaters right away. I didn't have tinnitus right away. I didn't have a lot of the issues right away. I just had kind of the major ones, the after images and the static and uh, blurry vision, and of course the giant green blob in my vision. That was kind of the main one for me that I was like, ugh, this is terrible. How am I supposed to sleep when I'm looking at the sun the entire time? It's awful. But either which way, I got visual snow syndrome somewhere in there, and eventually I went to see my doctor about doing something about it, and he recommended propranolol, which was supposed to stop my ocular migraines, decrease anxiety, and decrease my blood pressure a little bit, which was mildly high. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And it ruined my life. It ruined, murdered my life. Propranolol for most people is actually pretty solid. It's a really good drug for decreasing anxiety. For whatever reason, for me, it nearly killed me. I don't know why. If I had to guess, blood flow issues. I think I had blood flow issues to my brain, and when I was decreasing the blood to my brain through propranolol, my brain freaked out, gave me a bunch of adrenaline, kept giving me more and more adrenaline, wasn't getting there properly. Eventually, was like, I'm gonna burst you with a freaking ton of adrenaline, and that finally cut through the medicine to get my blood to be pumped up to my brain properly. But either which way, that's just a guess. I don't know for sure. And uh, all of my symptoms went from bad to unbelievably, horribly, ridiculously, absolutely awful. I'm talking about, instead of just closing your eyes and seeing some static, I'm talking about closing my eyes and imagine if in pitch black you're just kind of like sitting on the sidewalk and you're looking at a house, and that house has Christmas lights on it. I'm talking about the yellows, the reds, the blues, the greens, and they're just flashing back and forth, and you got the candy canes and all the other stuff. Just imagine that, and then just take away the house. That's what my vision looked like. It was just lights. I had waves of purples and greens and oranges, and on top of that, I had every other symptom you could possibly imagine. The weird where straight lines turn wiggly, black hole vision, X vision. I'd wake up and I'd have a bunch of green or blue dots in my vision, fractals. It just frickin' ridiculous stuff, guys. And eventually, I had to get off of it. Took a lot of effort and work. Got really, really bad. I had a bunch of brain zaps and weird things happening to me, and I had a vestibular migraine, which is the worst thing ever you could ever imagine. If there is, that's not a symptom of visual snow syndrome, but if it was, I don't know how long people would last. Let me just tell you that much, because I'm telling you, the drunkest I've ever been is not even close to the amount that the world spinned, and it spinned if I went this way. It would spin this way, and if I went this way, it would spin the other way. It was really, really, really wild, and it lasted for a full on 3 days, but luckily it went away. Crazy heart issues from all of that, and of course anxiety up the frickin' wazoo from it. Um, so my life is terrible. Every single symptom. when I was looking online for like other people's symptoms, and people are like, I don't like that I have to deal with a slight ringing in my ear, and oh my god, have you guys seen that? There's these after images. That I'm like, I see ridiculous. I see ridiculousness. So it made me feel kind of sad, and jealous that other people were like so feeling so horrible about their. I don't want to get into it because now I feel like I'm depreciating other people for their problems. Don't get me wrong, any visual snow is terrible, but either which way, it can get really, really bad. Um, so through all of that, obviously I went through a lot of stress. I started having jaw issues on top of that, TMJ, which seems to be a common occurrence amongst people with visual snow. And eventually I went to the doctor and I'm like, yo, can we do something about this? And she's like, sure. Sent me the PT. She's like, we're going to work on your jaw and we're going to work on your neck a little bit. And I was like, great, sounds good. She's like, you're really, really tight. Like, really, really, really tight, especially right here, kind of on the left side here. I don't even know what these are called, but like your traps and all that. Whatever leaks up to your neck as well. So, and obviously, my jaw and everything was tight as crap too. But did exercises, massages. I did a lot of stretching. And believe it or not, within about 2.5 weeks, I had the worst dry eyes you could possibly imagine. Sahara Desert level dryification. It was awful. And I woke up and I had a tear, like a legit tear in my house. And I was like, I think I'm going to cry, which I couldn't cry before. So I was like, I think I'm going to cry about this tear. It was that much of a beautiful moment that I did a bunch of neck stretches and I had a tear in my vision. A tear in my eye, I mean. So anyways, I don't want to get too in depth at all, but neck stretches helped me a lot. Okay, now keep in mind that I went from being ridiculously, ridiculously tight from a bunch of adrenaline rushing through my body all the time, but that's not that different from a lot of other people. And I was much more active than a lot of people. I still walk and run and bike and play with my dogs and go swimming and do exercises here and there. But for whatever reason, I was still really, really, really tight. So I started doing a lot more yoga and these stretches and these reasonable strengthening exercises. And I will not say that visual snow is gone, but visual snow for me has become I can't even say it's a background anymore. It's still there. It still exists. I still think about it every once in a while, but it does not control me or my life anymore. I make these videos because I want to help people, and I really think that I can help people with my stories and my ideas and my thoughts, and I would really like to help people because I know how bad it is, and I know how much it sucks when people don't listen to you or hear you. So, uh, I wanted to just try to do minimal things that'll help even just a couple people. You can change people's lives so easily by just watching one video or changing one thing about your life. Doing 2 stretches a day for 5 minutes might make your visual snow just that much better. But to be honest, it's probably a lot more than that. It's probably going to be yoga for an hour a day, 3 to 5 times a week, for multiple weeks to months, just to get some decent improvement. But let me tell you, after, again, 3-ish months of hardcore stretching, I really feel like a lot of things got so much better. And now I still stretch here and there, but I don't have to do it as hard anymore. I do it once a week, twice a week, and I just make sure that every time that I'm ever really, really feeling tight, I just chill it out. I just loosey-goosey that up a little bit. But any which way, my visual snow is only about a year and a half old at this point. Actually, a year and 3 months old at this point, and I'm doing much better. But it went from being bad to being really bad to being unbelievably, terribly, life-endingly bad to feeling better, to feeling better, to feeling better, to feeling like it sucks, but it's not going to control me. It's not a big deal of my life anymore. It's almost like maybe it'll go away. I'm kind of excited. Like maybe it'll just go away one day. Maybe it'll just minimize itself where I don't think about it anymore one day. But at this point, I still think about it a little bit. I still notice it. I still see that things are going on, but it just seems so much better. All the after images and everything, they're not as bad as they used to be, or you don't notice them anymore. You don't focus on them anymore. The BFAP, definitely not as bad. The light sensitivity, almost gone, if not completely gone at this point. And a lot of other things that I've got going on. The only thing that I've really got an issue with right now is still my jaw. I screwed up my jaw, and it's really, really hard to go back and unscrew up your jaw once it's screwed up. I still deal with sometimes. You might even be able to hear it. I'm like lisping my words a little bit because my jaw is so tight, and it's really hard for me to loosen it up and get it all uh, perfect again. But either which way, I hope this helps you out a little bit. I think that uh, I don't even want to get into what you can do. I'm going to save that for another video, but that was basically my story. The gist of it was I had ocular migraines before I started and a reasonable amount of anxiety. Uh, I got screwed over by the doctors quite a bit with misdiagnosis and everything. Eventually, I took a drug that's really screwed me up. Didn't even know I had visual snow, by the way, when I started that drug. I found out that I had visual snow syndrome during when I was taking that drug, and I was doing research on it and looking it up and everything, which may have exacerbated some of my issues, I guess. But I really feel like it should have chilled me out to understand what visual snow is rather than make it worse. But uh, eventually, through neck stretches and yoga and breathing exercises and decreasing my anxiety, I feel much, much, much better about life and more excited about the future. I used to think that like why even imagine retiring or living to be 70? Like why would I want to do any of that? Now I'm like, yeah, of course I do. I want to live on. I want to do things. I want to experience life, and I know that I can do it. And I think that you guys can get that feeling back too if you don't have it. I totally think you can get it back, and I think you've got to work on yourself. So I'm not going to get into all the ways that I think that you can help yourself with visual snow, even though I kind of mentioned them a little bit, but I will save that for another video. If you guys enjoyed, press the like button, subscribe, and have a super duper delicious day.